Hey folks, I'm here to get you started on this population calculations worksheet. It's really easy. It's math, and you guys are like, hey, it's science, it's not math. Yeah, but math and science go hand in hand because you need math to do science. All right, but anyway, it's not like calculus or something. It's adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying. And I know you guys can all do that. All right, so you don't have to do this, but here's all your formulas. Population density. There it is. It's the population divided by the area. So how many people are there, or how many whatever the species is? How many people are there? How big is the area? That's population density. Population growth or change. You add together the things that make a population go up and subtract the things that make a population go down. So births, every time something is born, the population goes up by one. Immigration is when something moves into the area. So these make population go up. So it's births plus immigration. And then you subtract the things that make a population go down. Deaths. Every time something dies, the population goes down by one. And then also minus emigration. And that's when something moves away from the area. So births plus immigration minus deaths minus emigration. So here we go as an example. We'll say it's rabbits. 20 rabbits were born. 15 rabbits moved into the area. So there's 35 new rabbits in the population, but 10 rabbits died and 5 rabbits moved out of the area. So 20 plus 15 minus 10 minus 5. The population grew by 20 rabbits. Population growth rate. That is the population growth. So whatever you get here, just put that number right there. So if it was 20, if our population growth was 20, you'd put 20 right here. Divided by the total population. So if there's 20 new rabbits in the area and the total population is like 400 rabbits, it'd be 20 divided by 400. And that'll give you the growth rate. Now to turn it into a percent, remember you're going to take that number and multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percent. So let's say you came up with it was like 0.05. Well, if you multiply that by 100 or just move the decimal place over twice, that would be 5%. So 0.05 is the same thing as 5%. All right, so now the doubling formula. So now you're going to use this. So say the growth rate was 5%. You're going to put it right here. So the formula to figure out how long it's going to take for a population to double, it's always the number 70. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why. But it's 70 divided by the growth rate in percent form. So in this case, it'd be the number 70 divided by the growth rate we said was 5%. 70 divided by 5 would equal, what is that? I think that's, let me look. I got to do it my calculator real fast. Let's see what it is. 70 divided by 5. 70 divided by 5 equals 14. So if the growth rate is 5%, it will take 14 years. 14 years. That's a big 4, but it's all right. 14 years for the population to double. And to find the future population, it's the initial population times 1 plus the growth rate as a decimal. If you don't understand this one, you can skip it, but I'm going to do a couple examples here. All right, so here we go. I'm going to do all of these. I'm going to do all of 1, 2, 3, and 4. What's the current population density? Let me get my calculator out again. Current population density of Spinksville. All right, so the population density, first of all, the formula is population divided by the area. All right, so now that we know what that is, the population of Spinksville, let's get my drawing tool, 250,000 people live in Spinksville. How big is the area? 5,000 square miles. All right, so we got it. All right, so here we go. Spinksville, there's 250,000 people. Divided by the area is 5,000 square miles. Equals, all right, calculator, 250,000 divided by 5,000 equals 50. So the answer is 50 people per miles squared. 50 people for every square mile. That's the population density. That's how closely together the people are. So on a square mile, there's only 50 people living there. So that's very low population density. What was the population growth? So remember, that is births plus immigration, not that. Births plus immigration, B plus I, minus the things that make it go down, deaths minus emigration. All right, so now we can do that. How many births were there? 12,000. 12,000 plus how many immigrated in? 8,000. 8,000 people moved there, minus how many people died? 10,000 people died. And minus how many people emigrated or moved away, and that's 4,000. Equals, all right, what is that going to be? So 12,000 plus 8,000 is 20,000. Minus 10,000 is 10,000. Minus 4,000 would be 6,000. So it's 6,000 people. So the population went up by 6,000 people. The growth rate, that is, what was the population growth? We just got it. It's 6,000. So 6,000 divided by the total population. So the total population is right here, 250,000. All right. Boop. Where'd it go? Right here. Get in there. Now. There we go. 6,000 divided by the total population, which is 250,000, equals. All right, so the growth rate, 6,000 divided by 250,000. 6,000 divided by 250,000 equals 0.024. But remember, to turn that into a percent, we're going to move that decimal 2 places to the right. So it's going to move over once, twice. So it's 2.4%. Boom. The growth rate of Spinksville is 2.4%. And how many years will it take the population of Spinksville to double? All right, so the formula for that is growth rate, which we just figured out is 2.4%, divided by, screwed up, had it backwards. It's the number 70 divided by the growth rate as a percent. All right, so we got the growth rate as a percent. It's 2.4. So 70 divided by 2.4 equals, let's see, 70 divided by 2.4 equals 29.17. 29.17 years. So it'll take 29.17 years for Spinksville to go from 250,000 people to 500,000 people. All right, so these are the exact same thing. I'm going to do this one. Let me think. Oh, no, you can do that one. That one's easy. Number 11, before I forget, go ahead and do this to the whole thing. 11, get rid of it. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to show you how to do this one. All right, the formula to figure out what the population will be in the future. All right, so I'm the first one to write down the formula. It's the initial population. Population. All right, so what's the population right now? That's the initial population. Times, this is going to be kind of confusing, 1 plus the growth rate, as a decimal. And you're going to do that. I'm not going to be able to write this. You're going to do it to the power of how many years in the future you're going. All right, so let me write this. I'm going to write it. All right, so that'll equal the future population. So 5 years from now, what's Cedar Rapids going to be? So its initial population is right here, 126,000. I'll start by typing it. All right, so give my text box back. All right, so to figure out what's the initial population, it's 126,326 times 1 plus the growth rate as a decimal. All right, you can see right here. Here's the growth rate, but that is as a percent. So to turn that into a decimal, we got to move that decimal over once, twice. So that's going to be 0.012. So 1.2% as a decimal is 0.12. So remember, it's 1 plus the growth rate as a decimal. So 1 plus 0.012, that equals 1.012. All right, so here we go. Let me get back in here with this. All right, so it's the initial population times 1 plus the growth rate as a decimal. And we got that as 1.012. And then you're going to do it to the power of how many years in the future you do. Let me get this. So in this case, we're going 5 years in the future. So it's an exponent. It's like, how to square things. Well, this is how you go 5 years in the future. On your iPhone, if you have an iPhone, what you're going to do is you're going to use the button that's X to the Y button. X to the Y. So that's the button you're going to look for on your iPhone if you turn it sideways on the calculator. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. All right, so here we are. I got my little fake iPhone calculator here. So current population, 127,904 people in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Doesn't really matter which one you use, this one or that one. It's going to come up with close to the same answer. And, if it's close, that's good enough. Times 1 plus the growth rate as a decimal. Here's the growth rate as a percent. Remember, to make it a decimal, you move the decimal over twice to the left, and it's going to be 0.012. So 1 plus 0.012 is 1.012 to the power of how many years in the future? 5. All right, so I'm going to do it on my little iPhone calculator, the same as that's right here. So actually, I do this part first. Let me put it in blue. I do this part first because it makes it way easier. So I'm going to start out with 1.012. And then to do this exponent to the power of 5, I use this button right here, X to the Y. I click that button, X to the Y, boink. And then since it's 5 years in the future, after I click that, I click the number 5. And I hit equals. And it gives me 1.0614573839, blah, blah, blah. Bunch of stuff. All right, so now I got that. But I still got to multiply it by the initial population. So I already did this part. So now I'm going to multiply it by this. So times 127,904 people. And in 5 years, 5 years from 2011, it's not 5 years from now, but in 2016, the population of Cedar Rapids, Iowa should have been 135,764 people. All right, so, when you do the next one, 10 years from now, you're going to do the exact same thing, except, wink, 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 get rid of that 5 and replace it with a 10. And what the heck, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you again. All right. So once again, I'm going to do this side first. 1.012 X to the Y. I hit that button again. X to the Y. Bink. And now I don't go 5. Now I go 10 because it's 10 years in the future. And this time it gives me 1.1266917. Gives me a bunch of stuff. And then once again, I got to multiply that by the initial population times 127,904. This time, 10 years from 2011 or 2021, the population should have been 144,108 people. All right, so do your best on this. Do not give the sub any trouble. If the sub says you guys are great, I'm going to, I don't know, maybe give you another movie day or something. So do your best, and I'll help you out when I get back next week. All right, talk to you later.